those two costumes are my hits. I tried to outdo myself. I tried to outdo myself when I think when we came out with religion a year and a half
that's
ago,
when you almost
but it didn't work. And I don't think
that,
right now.
when you tell me that costume almost beat you in. that Pope. The Pope costume.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, for Jesus' sake. It's two costumes. It's two costumes I
Nice.
don't like.
It was nice. So
Say
tell
it
us,
again?
I said it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
All right, tell us how you feel the way Junkanoo is moving right now, the way forward in Junkanoo in terms of your artisan, for artists in Junkanoo. Artisans.
Um, for me, I think I think I don't want to say we are stuck or still in the same place, but I think we have some artists and artisans who are still trying to be creative. Um, yes, the design wise, I think we need to do a little bit more. I think we started to touch out the box, like what I said. We came out the box as the years went by, and then we have more ingenuity now. What I see inside the groups, most of the groups, um, I think we show how to builders now. I
Yeah.
think that's one thing what I'm noticing inside the jungle world. We
Mhm.
show how to builders, and I don't know if persons are teaching or persons are interested in learning how to build now, but that's what I'm observing right now currently in the Junkanoo world. We short builders.
Boy, and that's serious. We're expecting Gino Rose to come on tonight. Who Bob the Builder is supposed to come on. Well, he called me a few minutes ago.
Bob the Builder.
Bob the Builder is going to be on, and then we're expecting Carlos Bain to join us. Some of the major players in Arson World. I'd also invited a few other persons, but they couldn't make it. But the real way that Junkanoo is going right now in terms of art is
Okay.
persons are really talking about and what artisans are now contributing to the way forward. From back in the day, say from about 5 years ago to now, what have you seen change as an artist in Junkanoo?
Um, I see, and I don't want to call certain groups, right? But I've seen certain persons. One group in particularly. I'm not going to be biased, but one in particular group, they're like really stepping up, and they are. It's like they're always the group to always watch because they always have something new. Always bring out something
Why you ain't want
new
to call no group?
in Junkanoo. So,
Why you don't want to call no name?
you know,
Is joining us.
Gino.
Gino, are you there? Gino's connecting right now. Gino is connecting with us right now. And so I let me tell you some of my favorites, what I have really seen in Junkanoo itself. Let me tell you the things that I have really seen. From an art, I'm not an artist, but I've been around a lot of persons that are artists like you yourself. I know John Beadle, I know Delavar Adams, and what I have noticed, especially with one family seems to have a lot of artisans, and
Yeah.
the level of artistry in their group and their themes that they bring to Bay Street seem to play a major effect. It's like on a
Always
different
creative.
level from most of the other groups in their terms of the artisans that they have in their group.
And I agree. I totally agree. I always admire one family
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, they always have they are one of the groups who always think out the box. They always think out the box. So I always admire them. And then I'm close friends with Miss Fernanda, Christina, and John Beal.
Right.
So
I see at one point you and
speaking
John
of those
John
artists,
Beadle was
we have a good amount of those artists inside Junkanoo as well. Junkanoo is a voice.
Okay, you pause for a minute. I didn't get that.
Say it again.
Yes, you were talking about you and John Beadle being good friends.
Yeah, yeah. I have several artists visual artists who are in Junkanoo, and they were making contributions from time. One of those persons is John Beadle, Clive Stewart. Um, they two artists who I usually be around, but we have other artists also. Andre John, he's the next person
Oh
who
yeah,
displays
Andre the
some
Celtic.
awesome
Yes, Andre.
artwork. Yeah.
Mhm.
So these are some of the artists. These are some of the artists who I look up to, and one of the persons who really taught me the ins and outs with Junkanoo, who really got me started with building, is the artist Clive Stewart. So he was the person who was the one who said, "Listen, Ellery, this is how you do a rod, and this is," because I never experimented with rods. I went from just regular cardboard hat, but he was the one who introduced me to rod work. So that's where it became easier as an artist. I was like, you know, something, yeah, this is how this is go, this is how this go, this is how that goes. So, um, you know, that's the good thing about being an artist as well in Junkanoo, because you know you have explore even further to your talent, your gift. So it give artists the opportunity to be a part of Junkanoo.
Right. Okay, so we have Gino. Gino, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and how long have you been in Junkanoo doing your artistry and your scalping. Gino?
With Junkanoo for the past 30 plus years, maybe. Yeah, 30 plus years. Um, I work with the Saxons. I work with most of my years in the one family. And I did 1 year in Roots and 5 years in Genesis.
Okay. And I noticed, Gino, from most of the festival with Angelique that has been doing, you have been doing that 3D shelter when manipulations, the cardboard manipulations that you were doing, they were just mind blowing. Explain a little bit about that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Angelique approached me to a cardboard demonstration at her festival.
Hmm.
And after I looked at what's really happening in Jungle, I said, you know what? Um, I should do it to showcase the true art of the cardboard side of things. And I said, the area that we wouldn't want to lose and people would need to learn so that we could try our best to keep keep the cardboard aspect of things alive. And she came up with the name cardboard manipulation. And so I just supported her.
Okay, how do you feel Jungkook has moved in terms of the sculpting and the cardboard? How do you feel in the past 5 years that Jungkook has evolved in terms of the sculpting and say the cardboard manipulation? Are you more comfortable with the sculpting of the form, or are you more comfortable with the cardboard?
I could do I can do the sculpting with the styrofoam. I could do the sculpting the building with the cardboard. With the cardboard, it's a little more technique than the carving. You have to be a very excellent 3D, um, visualize 3D a little better and have a better understanding with 3D to use the cardboard to get it to give you what you want.
Hmm.
Um, with the styrofoam, um, like when I do in a seminar, I teach in Junkanoo. Junkanoo uses three different types of construction. We use the mesh, where we build a whole wire frame. In the early days in Junkanoo, they used to use a wire frame to build heads, etc. I learned that from a guy through my corner who used to do individual. And we use the solid, which is styrofoam, where we carve out something, okay? And then we use a two-dimensional base drawing, and we develop that into a 3D drawing. So we use 3 different methods in Junkanoo to get what we want. Cardboard, to me, is the real product with Junkanoo construction.
Cardboard. Now, I know from many years ago, like when I used to be in the judging system, we talked about it on a previous show, how um, because of styrofoams, heads and all that made a complete different, that caused a different turn in Junkanoo altogether from the basic flat heads, which you used to see back in the day. Because one year, one particular group came with this new look, and it wasn't a part of the rule. It wasn't on the rule book, but that particular group won with those styrofoam heads. And from that, Junkanoo switched in a whole different area altogether. And back then, I think we was paying like almost $200 a head and stuff for those styrofoam heads that they were using on those costumes. Now, I don't know what the value is on the styrofoam heads now, but I know using the styrofoam, it seems like the costume and the characters on the costume seems to more lifelike to me. How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, a little history. The Wally Boys brought the heads in 1990. I went to that shack that year, and I remember because I was facing at JJ shack, and we bring Krishna. The Wally Boys had brought the heads with Gandhi and some Milo Butler and a few others, Hitler, I think it was. They brought a lot of heads that morning under the team Let Freedom Reign.
Right.
The heads were very impressive, I must say. Very, very impressive that morning. And we got to realize Junkanoo was always evolving. We always looking for new materials to work with. We always looking for new ways to make our product better. We always trying new things. Every group, every major group has introduced something new to Junkanoo. I remember in one family in '99, we introduced the color feathers. Bubbles had changed Junkanoo that morning, and that was the first time that they see color feathers used in that manner. Every parade we used, before that we used gold or white feathers. But that particular morning, you saw one costume come up with the green feathers, one come up with the red, one come up with the black, one come up with the blue, one come. So
well, to me right now,
eye catching.
Right. To me right now, one family seemed to be the king of the feathers. the king of the color feathers. A lot of their costumes with what they've been using. From I saw Muff bring when they brought Brazil. Remember Brazil? And
yeah.
Red with all the red feathers, and then she had like about 5 different girls around her. One had on blue, one had on yellow.
But Charmaine, don't forget now, Brazil was a feather costume. That was a feather theme.
No, it's a feather theme, and so
so that played well into their what they was bringing.
Right, that played very well. And then last year, with the new theme, what they have with the birds, Angry Birds, they brought back the Angry Birds with the feathers.
Right. Once again,
there was a lot of feathers in that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how we talk about the evolution of Junkanoo. I just want to make this point. How the judges basically validate whether something stays or it goes. Because had the judges done their job when the Valley Boys brought the heads, they shouldn't have won the parade.
Right.
And had they not won the parade, that means the momentum wouldn't have carried on for the heads to continue.
Right. But
we tend to adopt pieces from other groups that works and tends to do well, i.e. the winner, as opposed to something you try and it wasn't really, you didn't do well with it, or the judges didn't validate it. Then a lot of people tend not to try it again. I just want to make this point to the builders. I want to ask this question. Do you think there's too much copycat in Junkanoo? And I mean, too much repetitive costumes and no change. And some people bring the costumes the same way, the same colors, same scheme.
What
Thoughts?
What I've noticed over the years, that the builders today, they tend to go on past costumes and try to re redevelop develop them
Perfected.
further.
Perfected, yeah.
Yeah, they try to perfect them a little more, and we are not coming up with new
I did.
ideas. We're not
Well,
coming up with new themes. We're not coming up with new um, construction concepts. We just stuck in an era where a lot of the designers today, they stuck on those past costumes that they marvel on. So that's why we seeing repetitive themes, and because a designer is different from a builder. There's a great difference between the two. A designer is someone who imagines a concept and comes up with a concept and put that on paper. A builder can just build what he sees. It's different. It's like, it's like an architect design a house and the contractor builds that house. They are two different people.
I never looked at it like that. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
LP.
no, from all right, going back, not too far back. I think, you always have costumes that would just stand out. And I think from one morning, I can't remember exactly what morning it was, but I know it was a morning where Saxons, I think Tones had that big bicycle
Oh, yeah, the bike.
skeleton, things like that. I look at it and be like, wow, it might have not done an impressive job what it was supposed to, but I thought like when I see things, costumes like that come out on Bay Street, and even a little small off the shoulders, it makes me be like, you know what? They thinking out the box. And I think when you have artists like that, they help change the game. The Junkanoo world evolves just a bit more, and it advances just a bit more when I see persons who just have costumes like that. Now we are like what Jano said, we do have persons who, well, groups, or we have these repetitive themes, and we always regurgitating. So I think once we have persons who are always thinking different, I think that it helps, is a plus for Junkanoo actually.
Well,
Wow.
Ellery, I don't want to take nothing from anybody, but the first time that three-wheel bike came was in Toys 2010 that I did.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw in 2000.
I still have the picture of it. I still have the picture of it. I ain't trying to take nothing from Tones. My name is he's an excellent artist, but I just want to put that on record to let us know that three-wheel bike was done as a step down in 2010 parade as the Tasmanian Devil.
What was the name of the costume?
Riding the three-wheel bike. I still have the picture. Huh?
What was the name of the costume?
I can't remember. I have to look at the picture.
Yeah, you had to send me that picture. But let's
Yeah,
talk
but I
about
still
that
have that information.
costume that Tones bought. I thought that was magnificent.
It was an excellent costume that he did as well.
Yeah.
Now, I never really I was close up on it, but I never really got close up enough to really, I was close enough to look to see if his face fit, but my mind wasn't even there when I was up. I was just blown away by the size of it, the dimension of it, the creativity
Yeah.
of it, and the visual impact. It had me dizzy. So I was thinking it went.
Well, he was the one that put it in a lead costume. That's the first time it was done in a lead costume, and it was impressive. It was very impressive.
It was impressive. I think the reason it didn't do as well as people would have expected to it was the lack of pasting.
Right.
That was that one of the years when they bought the glitter foam, or what they call it, glitter foam, the next material would have all the colors and the little speckles and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That majority of the costume was made out of that. And I think that was the downfall for the costume, because to me that was the winner out there hands down. As designers and builders, how do you feel about the evolution of materials from crepe paper to these other forms like glitter foam? I was watching the rebroadcast of Junkanoo from 89, 88. This is the second question there for you guys. It seems like the artisanship or the amount of detail in the costumes has deteriorated over the years to the point now where we have these
Oh, yeah.
big blobs as opposed to intricacy. Can you speak to that as well?
Well, for me, in a professional jungle, if you're doing jungle professionally, we go in, we doing jungle now as a group and voluntary artists and stuff. But if we do it professionally, and for a lead costume, you need a few persons to make that work. You need the designer, with the person that designs and or draws the costume and all of that. You need the engineer who engineers the costume. You need an artist. The artist is the person who comes and draw that costume out and give you all that fine detail for the paster. And then you need your pacing group. So if you want to get more advanced, you need the electrician to do the electrical work, etc., etc. But we're not that advanced as yet.
Okay, folks, we have another person on board, Mr. Dennis Rasta Sanders. Mr. Sanders, introduce yourself, please, and what organization are you with, and what is your contribution to Junkanoo at present?
Good night, Shaman, and again, a happy belated birthday to you.
Thank
I
you.
hope you had a wonderful, enjoyable day on that special day.
Junkable time.
Good night, my fellow. Awesome.
Good night.
Good night to my Junkanoo compadres. Most persons know me as Rasta primarily, but Dennis Sanders always will be and always have the heart of a valley. But right now I am, as they say, and most persons call, a contractual builder. But I am aligned now with the One Family Junkanoo organization. Junkanoo for me is an experience like any other. It's my getaway. When I'm going through bad days, bad times, and I'm able to go in the shack, it allows me to take my creative talents and come up with a spectacular costume or conceptual ideas that I have in my head. Listening to you guys speak about a costume that I think hit Bay Street around, I think it was 2016 New Year's, that Anton Toons Dean did. I think the name of the costume was Chief Iron Horse.
Yeah, Chief Iron Horse. That's the name.
Me personally, yes, I think it was a clear-cut winner. It was different. For the most part, the costume was not scored the way that I feel that it should have, because of, like Hillary, I think, mentioned, a lot of the materials that were used were materials that now actually is being used in Junkanoo. Most persons think that we should not get away from crepe paper, and I have somewhat of the same sentiments, but at the same time, Junkanoo is evolving. It's getting better, and I think we as artisans, engineers, designers, once we use our creative abilities to push Junkanoo in the direction that I feel it needs to go, the sky's the limit. Most persons would have an issue with, like I said, the lead costume that Toons did, but I don't have a issue with the materials that they use, for the mere fact that we as Junkanooers, and me myself being a former lead bearer in the valley, you spend countless man hours in the shack preparing a costume, getting decorations and tricks for your costume, feathers, and we sometimes go to Bay Street not knowing actually what the elements would be presented at that point and that time. Um, I'm somewhat of one of those who thinks that Junkanoo needs to evolve. Me personally, from crepe paper. For those who still want to use crepe paper, that's fine. But bearing in mind that, like I said, you spend all these countless man hours and all this money and this time and this effort and this energy getting a costume to Bay Street, only for the elements to come down and wear it and destroy a costume.
Right.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Go ahead.
1 minute, Papa. We're getting response from Timothy Caffey. The costume was dusted. So when you say dusted, what is that? Like that's like the what?
It's ground up crepe paper.
That's crepe
It's
paper.
shredded crepe paper.
Yeah, that's shredded crepe paper.
That's shredded crepe paper.
So all you have to do is basically put the glue in a certain shape or area. Take the dust and just sprinkle it, and wherever the paper falls, it sticks onto the glue, and that's all you have to do.
Yeah, because that's what Timothy is saying. Timothy is saying.
Yeah. Dennis. The issue, I mean, I have no problem with Junkanoo evolving past crepe paper, but crepe paper is one of the small elements that keeps Junkanoo separated from a lot of other festivals around the world.
Carnival, and
we almost could say we pretty much right on Carnival back bungie right now in terms of costume and costume design. There's really not much separation anymore since we introduced so many things from Carnival, i.e. the feathers, the beads. I feel you with the evolution, but I think we need to stick with something to keep us separate. I mean, we still have the live music, but I don't think we can have that in the next 20 years either. Because I mean, as we evolve, people can say, okay, I don't need to ring bells no more. We have music recorded from 2020.
The music to me personally is something that's indigenous to what makes us Bahamian, and the music. Junkanoo is a spirit. You have to feel it.
Yeah.
If you don't feel it from, like my good sister here, Charmaine, says, in your belly. Yeah, if you don't feel it in your belly, man, ain't enough. That's why when I hear persons tell me that, oh, I don't like Junkanoo or I don't attend Junkanoo, I tell them you all in there. Can't be.
I wanna ask you all something. Have you all heard what some of the intentions is for, if possible, these two parades can come off?
No, we haven't heard anything.
I listened somewhat to
someone has something.
Yeah,
the facial expression.
I hear one or two things. Let me give you my opinion on it. Okay, I feel like right now, because of this economical situation that we're going on, we're locked down. Number one, I don't feel Junkanoo should go off. I think we should skip this season and catch up next year, because we still cannot have that social distancing. Even if we have 10 people rushing, we have a problem with social distancing. You can imagine 100 to 200 people. And even the whistle, like we say with the whistle, when you blow in the whistle, you spit saliva, spit, going in your nose, going in your mouth.
Even some horn blowers?
I understand that aspect of it, but I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about something else that will transform the whole way Junkanoo is. And I'm going to say it.
Go ahead, Gino.
I'm just going to say I am hearing that
I want to hear it too.
If we have these two parades,
right.
One parade is going to be the regular type Junkanoo parade, and the second one will be a carnival type parade. And some other people the other day, I had some other people who are into the carnival kind of indicating that as well.
So you're saying that Boxing Day will be the watered down parade and New Year's will be the carnival type parade.
Boxing Day will be like a
regular Junkanoo parade.
Right.
Parade. And New Year's Day will be a
regular Junkanoo parade?
A regular carnival type Junkanoo parade.
Because carnival gone. So you're saying they're going to try fill in New Year's like a carnival. But remember now, the first
That's what I'm hearing.
thrown out there was that Junkanoo was going to be in February.
That was the first idea that I heard. But now I'm hearing these other ideas, so I don't know which one will be the
I don't
final
know
outcome.
if y'all noticed this thing that's going around now with the Ministry of Tourism saying all of these different festivals are being canceled. Y'all saw that ad?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
There's a flyer going around from the
they're
Ministry
sending
of
around a flyer.
Tourism that's all their festival, like all the summer festival canceled and all the islands, the summer festival, Junkanoo, all that's canceled here. So I'm seeing my friends is telling me that walking may be canceled. If you watch the news in the States and see what is going on, even though Donald Trump is trying to do a bunch of foolishness, the more they open up, the more cases that they're having. You realize that, right?
That's normal. I mean, that's just gonna happen.
The next day they got 300 more new cases. So we still have to be mindful that safety is first before we rush. Safety is first.
I agree, but
What you got to say, right?
most Junkanooers that, because I'm in a few Junkanoo chats, most persons are looking at possibly an independence parade or an emancipation parade.
In August.
My thing is, like you say, even when apparently we are given what I would call not an all clear, but clarification that we are able to presume regular and normal life, we're still gonna have to be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even right now there are reports that most persons again in China are starting to be persons that are being second times persons that contracted this virus. Until I feel antidote, a vaccine, or whatever they want to call it, is found, we're still gonna have to be on our P's and Q's.
Let's not stray for the subject. Let's go back to our costuming because we was treading into some other water. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about is a costume that was made by a certain group, and one of y'all can call it, but y'all know I can call it, where the all that skullduggery that they say was going on in terms of the scoring on the costume, which was the costume by Genesis done by Boma George. How do you all feel the structuring and the setup of that costume? Because to me that morning, that costume would win the parade.
That costume, that costume. Go ahead, Ellery. Go ahead, Ellery.
That was the next costume, but I saw that like reminds me of the Rose Parade.
Big float.
That costume was like
that costume.
Very, very a lot of work was placed in that.
Say it again, Ellery.
You get that?
No,
I said a lot of work was placed into that, and that's another costume. What I saw was like it was really, really creative. A lot of time spent on it, and the ingenuity on it. I thought it was different. One of those next different costumes were similar to the one I mentioned earlier with tones on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that costume was that should have won. Plain blank, that should have won. But you know, circumstances make it what it is. Another costume that I saw this year that should have won, that Orlando costume. I think that should have won. I had one or two little fall for that, but I thought that should have won as well. But circumstances make it what it is.
All right, guys, let me just read Paul is saying. Clint Paul is saying Junkanoo quality is on a steady decline. For the most part has become horrible when it comes to finished work. How do you guys feel about that?
The judges are not promoting the costumes that really should win. And so we are the mediocre costumes we are giving the prizes to. And those mediocre costumes are causing people to decline from doing as much work as they used to. The people who putting in the work and the time and the energy, they are being rejected.
I
They're
I
being
I
rejected.
I agree. I agree with Gino, and I mean, I quite frankly, I really don't care because we get chastised for it regardless. You have persons that are actually in persons' back pockets, and until we get away from the like you say, the skullduggery of Junkanoo, because okay, for instance, Gino is a builder. I am an up and coming builder. Hillary is a builder as well as a Junkanoo. Uh, Papa has been one that has carried dancers and lead costumes. Junkanooers, when we line up through and costumes are lined off on George Street. As a Junkanoo and you stand in front of a costume, you know which costumes are primarily in the money.
Right.
So when 6 o'clock comes in the afternoon and everybody is assembled at Awaki, and you within yourself know that, hey, these are the 3 costumes that I'm looking to place in the best costume, the best off the shoulder, the best frame, the best free dancer category, and then you hear something else. You as a Junkanoo, you know some.
Something
I
going
mean, I
on.
can't use the word, but you know some stuff going on.
Right. Right.
And
This
and
is
what upsets me is the fact, like I said, when persons spend countless hours away from their families, their wives, their children, their loved ones, they're spending countless monies to get a costume to Bay Street, and you have, like I say, Junkanooers, real Junkanooers, saying, "Boy, you look good this morning. You're in the money,"
Right.
and you have that confidence that you're gonna go down Bay Street, you're gonna do your lap on Shirley Street, you're gonna then come back on Bay Street for that third lap, what they call the lap for the fans, and then for you to get to Awaki and get disappointed, it demoralizes your mind, your spirit, and your soul as a Junkanoo.
Rasta, there's an issue or a point I think we're all missing when it comes to that issue of seeing the costume on before the parade starts. You say that's the winner. The costume also has to carry a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of
That's
a
true.
lot of a lot of the pretty costumes are terrible
Yeah,
at going
they
down
don't
basic.
carry in guys.
And
Guys don't perform. I
and
agree with you.
and what's another point too, what we have to focus on or take into consideration too, is the fact that sometimes that these lead costumes are just too big for Bay Street.
Yeah, that's true.
You build them too big.
That's true.
You
Okay,
assume
but let
that
me.
16 feet. Everybody say Bay Street is 16 feet, but Bay Street isn't a straight line going straight down.
No.
You have pieces come in,
Okay,
and pieces go out.
let me ask.
I
Let me ask
for
you
me you
this.
build for me you build lead
Yeah.
costume. I have a size that I work with, and I don't have a problem too. My costumes don't have a problem going down.
Oh,
I have a size.
Have some problems though.
Yes, they do. But I mean, I have a size. I have a size that I don't go
You know,
against. I don't
I
let my
know.
artwork go beyond certain sizes. So
I always wondered. I always wondered why every year some builders they know the measurements of Bay Street,
mhm.
and they always somehow tend to go out of the spectrum. Sometimes when you see them pushing the barricades, I was like, oh, come on, man. Every year you all build these costumes, but
It
you
makes
can
no
have
sense.
idea.
It makes no
You
sense.
understand? It don't make no sense. So I sometimes I don't get it with some builders when they do that. And then sometimes, when most groups always have an issue when it's time to turn through Elizabeth Avenue.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have you have to build for the arena. You can't build out of the arena. You have to build for the arena.
And the thing about
Because I
it
mean,
is, Elizabeth Avenue, them down that way don't even have no bleachers.
No,
It's just
no,
basic road. They
Turn is the
they only
problem,
have
issue.
barricades. They don't have seating.
You see, the
no.
costumes are becoming longer, Charmaine.
Yeah,
Not
longer.
only being taller, they're becoming longer now too. Take for
Yeah.
instance, Mama George costume was long.
And
Yeah,
taller.
That was
long,
very long.
long and tall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I've when I
yeah.
did the Princess Diana costume, I tried something where I would try to make the top a little wider. And when we get through Elizabeth Avenue to turn on to Shirley Street, because the top is so wide, it blacked out Shirley Street. It hit the wires and it blacked out Shirley Street. And as we was going up Shirley Street, that touched every single lamp
Wow.
pole going up. And from that costume, I said, I will never put the top of my costume that wide again anymore. Never will I ever do that again.
And
But
what I'm saying too, what I liked about Toon's costume, it wasn't too wide. It was long. It was a good height, but it had that much 3D in it that it still could have flowed easily through Bay Street.
It wasn't wide. The
It
costume
wasn't
wasn't wide.
wide.
It wasn't wide at all.
No,
yeah,
it wasn't wide.
so you have to work with the heights on Bay Street. I can tell you for one, you cannot go over 21 feet in height. You cannot. And most of us we stick 20 feet.
To be
So
honest,
we could
yeah.
clear all those wires and etc. etc. The railings, I don't think you could go past 18. So there's measurements that we use, but that I use now that I don't go past that. I don't let nothing go past that size. But one time ago, I told JCMP that we should put the markings on the ground. I see something similar that they did. I was saying to them to put the markings on the ground so you could measure the size of the costume. You just put a box and the costume just come there in that box, and any outside of that box, it's too big.
They introduced
See what
that,
I'm
I
saying?
think, for individual costume this year. I
Yeah, I
think it
think they
was
used. I think it used
for.
it. I think they used
I
it
think it
now.
was for a dancer size too. I think there was two boxes, two different size boxes on Bay Street this year, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. Yeah.
But I think that's just for the typical size of the lead costume. It's not the size to say
I don't think it was for
you
lead
can't
costume
go
at all.
over.
I think it was for the
Step
individual
down
and
it.
something else. Step
It
down,
was a
yeah.
step down it.
I think it was
Yeah,
step down.
yeah.
Yeah, it might have
So
been step down.
you can't go smaller than that size. I think that's the
Right.
case. I
No,
think you can't
especially
go smaller.
individual is the size of a
Possible, but
piece of sheet of plywood,
you
4 by
can't go
6.
smaller than that. Yeah.
Right.
Right. It
But
has to be a certain
what
height.
I've noticed now a lot too, in the costumes that they're building, they're not three-dimensional anymore. Everything is so boxy. Like everything have a box to it. Like the back part, everything have a box to it. And most of the
There are not that many. There are not that many 3D dimensional 3D builders in Junkanoo. There's not that much builders. Period. And
Why is that? Why are we losing so many builders, or
That's what I
why
was.
are we retaining builders, or why aren't we getting new builders? Why with so many
I could
artists out there, I figured that
I could
they
speak from my experience. And I could share some other experience. The Bahamas have a lot of artists, very good artists. We are not. They are not getting involved in Junkanoo because the artist, that's his way of life. That's how he makes his money. You understand me? Junkanoo is voluntary. It's not professional. A professional artist, it's very difficult to get them into Junkanoo to build. All of them, professional artists, if you bring them into Junkanoo, they could build a costume. I'm telling you that's from my experience working with them. Now, the younger Junkanooers today is not accepting Junkanooers like I was when I was young. And the problem is I've taught a lot of people, they disrespectful. Plain and they disrespectful. And a lot of people don't want to work with them no more. They don't because they have no respect. You understand? The whole thing about Junkanoo is just Bennett. Everybody want win, they want beat Ben Boy, they want beat this one, but they don't want to learn from Ben Boy. They'll watch him.
But then
They will watch him and try to pick up
the
him.
problem with that
But
is, the problem with that
they
is,
wouldn't respect him to say, I learned what I learned from, like how I'll say, I learned from Jackson, I learned from Gay, I learned from, I mean, not saying looking for credit, but I just saying, you have to give respect where respect is due.
right.
You
You see, the
understand?
problem with that is,
All of the senior Junkanooers I know trained a lot of people. They train a lot of guys. They have their followings. They have people who respect them, and they work within that little group. But as far as, and then another thing, the JCMP is only in charge of the parades. There's no one in charge of Junkanoo.
Nobody in charge.
There's no
There's
one
a
in
gap.
charge of. There's no one in charge of training, educating, teaching Junkanoo. I always
That
say,
doesn't fall under the JCNP.
no one can say I have a Junkanoo certificate to say I am a cowboy.
Whilst I have all
You
of
understand what I'm saying?
whilst I
That's what
have
I'm saying.
all of you artisans here, one of my pet peeves, like how we coming on Facebook and Zoom, is to create an atmosphere of workshop for you guys to be able to come in and teach some of your skills to the Commonwealth of Bahamas, because people watching. There's so many
Shaman,
things you have to offer.
Shaman, a workshop is all fine. A workshop will teach whoever comes there. What we need is a Junkanoo is an art form. It's an art form. It's not just a parade. We need an institution that will teach Junkanoo, teach the music, teach the art, teach the performance, teach the engineering, um, teach the language. We need to teach Junkanoo. Junkanoo is an art form that only the Bahamas has. Like
The way we do
abstract
it,
art.
yeah.
Abstract art is a type of art. Graffiti is a type of art. Junkanoo is a type of art. It's an art form, and we need to create a platform where we teach it professionally.
I
We have to teach it professionally. You
I
know how much
I could
craftsman,
agree.
you know how much craftsperson and different types of person you could develop from Junkanoo. I went on Jackson show, and I always wanted to get that thing. And I was explaining that I use certain things to pick a theme. I use subjects. I use science. My theme could be based on science. My theme could be based on maths. My theme could be based on geography. That's the way I pick my theme. And that's the way I pick costumes in my theme. One will represent the geography. One will represent the religion. One will represent uh, culture. One will represent the government. One will and this is how I live my theme. You see what I'm saying? Unless it's an abstract theme. It's this is an art form, and it's also a component there. But we don't understand what we have. We just doing it for the win. You know how much
Competition.
money there is to be made in persons who can make craft alone. That's a
Can ask
craft
that man below you.
So guys, we have another artist that just joined us, Mr. Carlos. Trying to unmute him. Carlos just joined us. Carlos Bain. How you doing, Carlos?
All is well. Good night to all.
Good night. Introduce
Yeah,
yourself,
man, boy.
please.
Hey, this is my first time on Zoom, so I don't know. I playing with this phone all day.
You're doing a good job. Just talk like you're having a regular conversation. You're doing a great job.
Just introduce
All right.
yourself.
I caught the part where Gina was talking. I think the question was
No. Hold on, Carlos, a second.
something about
Introduce yourself first. Let people know who you are, what group you're
Right.
affiliated with, and how long you've been in Junkanoo, and then we go into the conversation.
Oh, okay. My name is Carlos Bean. Some persons call me Sky. Some people call me Rasta, Bobo, all kind of nicknames. I answered all. But, you know, I've been in Junkanoo from 1999. My first group was Roots Junkanoo Group. And I've ventured through other groups such as Saxons, One Family, Genesis. And to talk about that, I wish I had the opportunity to at least experience each group for about 2 years to know the different ways some groups function. You know, so I really appreciated all the experience given over the years from various groups because I now understand how some things work, some things that work easier than others. I've been in positions whereas I can make that decision, whereas, okay, I know there's a better way because I've tried that way before and it didn't work. Or I've seen that way tried before and it didn't work. So um, I'm glad for the experience. I started in 1999. So I'm counting about what, 21 years in Junkanoo, something around there.
Okay.
And I've had the opportunity. I'm basically self-taught, but I've been in amongst very skilled builders, such as Anton Dean. I worked with Keith from Roots. That was basically the first person I've ever witnessed constructed a costume. Um, but most of my skills was picked up along the way um, because of maybe disappointment or the hunger to know how to do something. So I found myself after a few parades dissecting costumes were thrown on the side of the street. I carried them back to the warehouse, what I call it, and I just cut them open and try figure out how things was done. And over the years, through trials and error and disappointing myself, um, experience taught me the most because I found it challenging that a lot of builders, a lot of them are artists. Now, every builder is basically an artist, and a lot of artists, when they're working in almost in a ramp. So they are there physically, but mentally they are really not there. So a lot of the builders don't really grab your hand and say, hey, do this like this, or and really almost like in school. It's almost observation. So as they work, you really pick up or you work along with them and then you start to get the gist of it. Other than that, a lot of the baton has not been passed on. And like Gino said, a lot of the new era Junkanooers, they don't really have it in them like the old era coming up in Junkanoo. I think I probably caught the last era that was really hungry for Junkanoo. A lot of persons don't even understand why they do it, and a lot of persons, Junkanoo have changed. Going around the clock and the atmosphere and the shock life, like the shock life experience, it changed over the years. And I think what helped kill that was a part of Junior Junkanoo, the competition. A lot of kids lost the basic skills of Junkanoo because maybe the schools that participating in Junkanoo is hiring skilled builders or contracted artists who's doing the majority of the work. So the kids really not getting the basic skills of Junkanoo. They just basically collecting costume or just decorating. They don't understand from flat cardboard and the wiring and all of those stuff. Maybe it's part-time and I don't know what it is, but the competition held back a lot of the kids. A lot of the kids, they don't really know, so they don't grow up in Junkanoo anymore. You see, and that was one of the challenges actually Genesis was facing. And we try to break that mold now because Genesis is one of the newest age category group. And what I've found through my experience is a lot of the new members, they didn't grow up in Junkanoo. They probably saw something online or a friend tell them, hey, come try Junkanoo, and then they sign up online and now they in Junkanoo. And the first hardship or disappointment, they're ready to go because they didn't expect it to be like that. And their love is not engraved in Junkanoo because they already grown. Now, if you grew up in Junkanoo, it's a different feeling, it's a different commitment to that group. That's why you see a lot of groups, they're really holding on because the batons have been passed from maybe their parents carrying them to the shack, and over the time they growing up in the shack, and then maybe they start painting and picking up papers, and eventually they are embedded in that group. So they're more loyal to that group because they've been around for years, from a young kid straight to adulthood. But nowadays, a lot of persons just join in Junkanoo as an adult. So they are not really fully committed to it. and we started to lose it like that also. And then a lot of persons pulled back because of, I've heard a lot of reasons for the judging system and things like that. But for the past few years, I've seen improvement in the judging system. Now, us as Junkanooers, we always tend to see the scores a different way because we have the skill, so we really have the eye of a Junkanoo. And so we see things different. We see who is in pasted, we see who craft, we see who felt, we know who shortcut. But hats off to the judges because that is really hard work. And I've had my experience to junior Junkanoo, and that was hard work for me. And I was a skilled Junkanoo looking at junior Junkanoo participants, and that was tough for me. So hats off to all the judges because that is a tough experience. Until you stand in their shoes.
Judging is not easy at all.
Now everybody knows what I have been going through for 10 to 12 years when I was in charge of the judging system. Now everybody's just feeling what I have been feeling for years.
After a certain point, it becomes a blur. It becomes a blur sometimes and all. After saying all that,
you know, let me share this with you guys. Let me share this with you guys real quick. One of the first times when I was in the judging system and a costume was coming towards me, do you know what I saw? Black and white. I didn't see absolutely no color. No color on the costume.
Yeah.
That's why I tried to explain when I was in the judging system to do certain times we would have like play performance. We would have skits and we would have performances where we would tell them, listen, we need you to go out and create a Junkanoo parade and come back and we do trials. So we would set up like the Performing Arts Center like Bay Street, and I would invite people to come and rush, let them hear the music, let them tote the costume. The judges now, they tote the costumes, they playing the instruments and they doing all these things so they would have the feeling what a Junkanoo would feel when they're on Bay Street. Because when that visual impact hits you, your eye gets dizzy. When that horn blowing in your ear, you can't even, you even didn't know what they're playing. So you have to be in that moment, in that step, or been there. Like they say, you don't know it until you've done it. So my whole aim was to make sure that
standing up on your feet all night judging a parade.
What a Junkanoo is. It's crazy. And not only that, when you have a break to eat, when you have a break, when one group just go past and you got 10 minutes, you gotta go try find something to eat, use the bathroom and everything. To get back, one be passing to catch the next thing coming. And then your paper ain't score. You can't doodle on the side of the paper. You can't make no mark. You can't do nothing. Because you know, what you done for 3 to 4 months of practicing will be thrown out by one wrong pen mark or a dot on the side of something which you do wrong.
But you know, to eliminate a lot of those things, what we need to do, because let me tell you this, a lot of the judges, you know, I think they judge what, 10 off the shoulders, something like that.
Well, I don't know how
and they have to look for those. They also have to look for those 10.
They have to look for those.
But here's the thing, Gino. Here's the thing. They have to go and physically look for those 10 costumes with the numbers. So imagine that.
Okay, let me tell you
coming down to you, and you have to go and look for those individuals who have numbers on their costume.
Well, this was for me. This is how I bypass that as an artist. The more different you are, the more you could stand out.
Yes.
They will find you.
Yes.
If there's a lot of similarities, it's going to be a problem. So as long as you're different, they will notice you because you are different from the norm.
Guess what?
Let me tell you a way that we can also look at that through the pre-judging system, and I can tell you why. Let's say 10 off the shoulders are required. We ask you to enter probably 5. Let's say 5, right? From each group, each A category group. Now, we chose the best 5. You know, it could be a competition between a group to fall in the 5. But anyway, we enter you under the tent. And as prejudging is a standstill, we have judges who can now come up to the costume and judge you correctly according to engineering, fringe crepe paper, color coordination, completion, things like that.
Visual impact.
Right?
Mhm.
Now, visual
Yeah,
may come
the problem
different
with that is,
because what will happen? What would happen? Now, out of your group, the top three scores out of that 5, what are we going to be looking for on the road? Or the top 5, if we judging 5 off this, the prizes is 5. So we judge the top 5, right, in scores. Because what could happen is, let's say, for instance, we bring the wedding. And some judges may judge the first 10 off the shoulders they see. But my costume is the reception, which I down the line, maybe number 13 costume. She already, or he already put in all the scores. Never saw my costume, but I'm probably the best one in the group. Now, I have eliminated myself because of our lineup to tell the story. I probably eliminated. So what you can do is give persons a fair judging, whereas you enter the top 5 or the top 10. We eliminate 5 and we judge in 5 on the road. Now, the 5 that we selected to be in each group, they are the only 5 I'm really judging on the road for mobility and crowd interaction. So you got scores under the tent because you may look good and can't out. So you get scores under the tent. And then now you can line up your group however, because only 5 of them I'm really concentrating on to see how you perform, how you react, how the crowd react to you, and how you mobilize your costume, which can give that person more of a fair judging. You know what I mean? Because if I'm number 13, the judges who judging off the shoulder judge the first 10 because they fatigue. To hurry up, get it out of the way, they select 10 quick costumes. I eliminated 1 dime. You know, and it's unfair for the person who put in just amount of work, but because of the lineup, knock him out of the competition.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Interesting.
So it can be an avenue that we can look at, whereas you have fair judging, because being a judge, like y'all say, it blurs you after a while because you fatigue, you hungry, your feet aching, you might even put on the proper shoes. You didn't anticipate the parade was going to be that long and all kind of things going on, you know?
Sound like a photographer, Shaman.
Yeah, he sound like the media end of it too.
well, also why I was saying to the JCMP, as an aspect of that parade, they need to bring service. When I say service,
half the judges.
well, it's not just it's service period. You need people would get the judges on the road. They need to eat. You know what I mean? You get the people in the bleachers. They don't want to step off and go on the line for an hour, miss their group. You understand what I'm saying? Just because they're going to get something to eat or something like that. You can't do nothing if they have out of personal reasons, but I'm service. We need to sell our parade different now. We can't just sell bleacher tickets. We don't sell our service. We are providing a service to the public. If I buy a $60, $70 ticket, I want to sit on my bleachers and I want to order my food. I have somebody go pick up the food, bring the food back to me. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not missing the parade. So we have to now look at the way we treat our customers. We have to look at this thing holistically. This is not a one-way operation. We have to look at this. This is how we make our revenue. Like a business, how we run business. You can't go in a hotel without getting proper service. You don't want to be there. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to look at how we are dealing with Junkanoo. It's not just about our costumes. We dealing with a whole lot of different things that makes this thing work. And if we want to go further, we gonna have to upgrade. We have to all around.
I don't think that we are marketing Junkanoo the best way we could. I think there's lots of room for improvement. And something that Arlene said on an interview at Educulture disturbed me, and she stated that 90% of the persons that came through Educulture have not even heard the word Junkanoo. And for Junkanoo to be around for so long, and 90% of the persons that pass through Educulture have not heard the word Junkanoo, that kind of sparked something in me. And year before last, I did live art at Bahama for roughly 2 weeks, every day. And it was during the Junkanoo season. It was held from December 19th until January 2nd. Now, I was doing live art, and the occupancy at Bahama was almost 100%. Now, this is the Christmas season. And the day after Junkanoo, some of the guests came up to the work where I was displaying, and I was asking them, hi, have you been down to the Junkanoo, to Bay Street? And, oh, what is that? And all that day, I had a notepad, and it was only one person who went to Bay Street, and they spent probably an hour out there. Hotel full, and only one person through the survey went to Bay Street. And if you would check the stands or the past tape, they're basically only Bahamians full our bleachers. Bay Street and Shirley Street, basically only two Bahamians full our bleachers. And I think that's where we need to fix too. We need to find a way to fix that. And we need to sell ourselves maybe in a better way, because the tourists are here, but they don't come for the purpose of Junkanoo. Some of them still don't even know what that is. Some of them didn't even know. Yes, sir?
We don't market Junkanoo to nobody. All we say is bleacher tickets available, and that's it. No flyer, no radio ads, no nothing. We don't market Junkanoo.
Let me tell you.
Just go there and rush.
We don't market Junkanoo.
You know the Ministry of Tourism says?
You know the Ministry of Tourism says? The Ministry of Tourism says that the hotels are filled, so they already did their job. They don't care what the people do when they reach here,
Wow.
I'm just telling you what they tell me. I've asked this question zillions of times. Why can't we market to the tourists? Why can't we get the tourists? You see, the hotels don't necessarily want the tourists to come outside the hotel. That's why they had you doing the art.
Let me tell you one of the reasons for that. Junkanoo have been so secretive. We have hide Junkanoo from the world.
We hide it from ourselves.
There are, after you done line up on Bay Street and the rain come down, most persons don't even have a proper picture of their costume. Thank God you was taking images, but you mightn't be in the hole when we line up, we get wet up. You know how much persons don't have a proper picture or image of their costume before the rain came down? And that's the same costume. We don't process anything. And I really appreciate Kenny Knowles for the deconstruction every year. I really appreciate
that's an excellent
paparazzi,
right there.
you saved me for years. You saved me for years with your images on junkanoopaparazzi.com, because most persons that love Junkanoo is in Junkanoos. Therefore, we don't really have the time, or we don't even see other groups because we may be lining up right behind the Saxons. So we might see them line up, but now we trying to line up the same time they going down. So we never had to see Valley Boys who already on Shirley Street.
Yeah.
So images kind of get us through. But now these videos on Facebook kind of saving us, because we didn't even know what going down on Bay Street.
This is my point. And this is my point going forward. We are not doing Junkanoo professionally. We are not.
I agree.
We still doing Junkanoo as just a parade. That's it. They say it's just a parade.
Only on competition.
Okay,
So,
guys, let me ask
how can we fix it?
Artisans a question. How do you feel the way forward in terms of your costuming, in terms of your construction of your costuming? Has it reached a different level? Have you feel that you improved in the past 5 years, and where do you see it in the next 5 years?
looking at some costumes, what I see junk is improved. It improved tremendously. You know, when you look at the bike that we talk about, when we look at the costume last year, year before last with Thomas George and those. When we look at the Orlando costume, we just went by, and we could see those professional work on those costume and engineering. Now, the thing is, like I say, professional people requires funding. You're not going to get professional people to volunteer their time. They're not going to do it. Now we could train some people to build some costume and make some pretty looking stuff. But professional people, you ain't gonna get no animation engineer in Junkanoo.
Go ahead,
You know what
Ellie.
you know the
Go ahead, Ellie.
Let me interject real quick, Gino. From what I've noticed, right, we have a lot of artists, and then we have visual artists as well. All right. You saying visual artists are the professional ones, and I could contest this. There aren't as much visual artists in Junkanoo, but we do have a lot of visual artists who are in Junkanoo. But now you said they use that they want to get paid. Yes, everyone wants to get paid for what they do, but it's not only about getting paid. You have to love what you do. So that should tell you we have visual artists who love Junkanoo and who just love it, not just
John Beal is one of them.
Yeah, we have a handful. But you have to love what you do. You could pay visual artists to do it, but you have some visual artists who can do some stuff, but they can't build, they can't do nothing else. But
Training.
But
Okay.
we don't need visual artists only. We have persons who we could teach, who could understudy everyone. I mean, that's you have to find someone in these groups who are willing to understudy persons or such as yourself or so, and that's just it. Like how Carlos mentioned Junior Junkanoo. I think that's one of the excellent points where we really need to start. We need to carry teach them from younger in order for them to know, to have a understanding and a love for Junkanoo. Because right now, like I said, we have a shortage in Junkanoo with builders. It's a hard full of Junkanoos, builders in Junkanoo.
The thing is to get Junkanoo into the curriculum, it will take an act of parliament, and that is the battle that we probably will have to go through to get that in. The quickest way for us to train Junkanoos, if we want to train them professionally, is to ask, or however we have to go about it, to get our own institute, our own training facility, something that we could use and we could ask our builders, because they need a space to do that training. We just cannot do that in the shack as we used to no more. We have to create that space where people can come and train. When I was at COB, they invited me in to train, to do a class, a workshop, and the artists that was there, I was able to train them how to do Junkanoo within 3 days. We just did a little piece, and I just showed them how to create this piece. I explained to them how to draw it, how to color it, how to wire it and construct it and all of that, etc. And these people was already people who was interested and passionate about art. So it was easy for them to adapt.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we need that space where we can say, look, today we teaching coloring. Tomorrow we teaching engineering. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, they are well versed in construction, in performance, in team presentation, and presentation itself, in dance, etc. We need an institute where we could train people professionally.
Right. Go ahead, Rasta, answer the question for me. Rasta, answer that question for me.
What's that?
Rasta, I said in Rasta to answer the question.
Okay.
Me personally, like you mentioned earlier, why isn't the craft being passed on? You have what we call millennials that, because I've had experiences with younger persons that are interested or would say that they're interested and they want to learn the craft, but because of, see, back in the day when we frequented the shacks, there was no social media, there were no telephones. So when you go in the shack, your entire focus was actually on what the artist, the designer, his engineering tactics, his structural formalities pertaining to building a costume. You were intrigued by this. Being younger persons entering the shacks, and you got involved in Junkanoo, you did one of two things. Either you swept and kept the shack clean, and then you were graduated gradually into pasting costumes and the back of costumes. Now you have persons that are coming into Junkanoo because they're intrigued. They've never carried a dancer, they've never carried a costume, but they just enter a shack and they just say, hey, I want to rush. Because most groups want, I would say, numbers, and they want bodies in the road. They give anybody or any Joe Blow a costume. A person, and for the most part, like I said, uh, builders in Junkanoo are limited. In my era, then and now coming up, you had basically primarily about 8 to about 10 builders in any particular group. Right now, if you could find possibly 3 or 4, you're doing good.
Almost every shack had a builder.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why it was a shack.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say most builders, to an extent and a degree, like Gino reiterated, that most persons who are professionals want to be compensated. Most of the love, or as I say, the loyalty and uniqueness of being loyal to one particular group, it isn't that anymore. Most persons and I don't want to say I'm blaming Carnival, but since I feel that Carnival has entered into the realm of our shores in Junkanoo, a lot of persons have, I would say, taken scales of their eyes, and they feel that, hey, if I can build a costume, or a person can build a Carnival costume and be compensated, me as a Junkanooer, being loyal to a group, they feel that they are owed some kind of compensation because they've been loyal for a period of time.
And Carnival has a two-edged sword. Don't to cut you off, Dennis. Carnival has a two-edged sword. People mind, they want instant costume. They want to come to the shack just to pick up and go. They don't want to build no more. They don't want to do nothing to build it.
But
They don't want to basic costume no more.
A lot of
That's what happens.
A lot of our leaders in Junkanoo are not leading by example. Because many of them are not pasted. Many of them are not cardboard and all this traditional Junkanoo stuff that we use. Many of them look just like Carnival. Exactly like it. So if you have some younger persons following you and you taking the shortcut route, what you think happen?
That's true. Carlos, your response?
But I mean, but it's been happening for years. I can't remember.
I'm talking about. It's been happening for years. It's been happening for years.
Yeah, but
I
don't know if I would say the leaders. The leaders, I think they are owed to wear cloth. Now, I wouldn't say Carnival style, but cloth. And I don't think they should be forcing cardboard to say that if you don't wear it, I shouldn't wear it either, because they have so much other task. Pasting a costume or being pasted, that I don't even think that on their priority list. but we did lose the art of Junkanoo. Boy, that's a tough one.
What do you
Keep
say about
Junkanoo
going
alive.
forward though? What do you think about the process of the building and the sculpting going forward?
Like Gino said, it probably have to be institutionalized because what Dana said, to piggyback on what he said, a lot of persons are now adopting the come and collect costume. They're not putting in any work, and if you ask them to come wire something, they feel like they have a problem. And and I think a lot of them already been spoiled in the past, maybe by some groups who had a lot of money at that time, so they contract costumes out, contract pasting, straight up the pasting. So a lot of persons don't really know the whole entire process. They feel as if that they should just come and pick up the. Oh,
Exactly. See, my thing is a builder, and I spent some time with Carlos in the shack about 2 years ago, and I was in there actually cutting out, wiring up, and setting up costumes. And he looked at me and he was like, "Hey Rasta, you doing too much work. Where the people who these costumes belong to? See, if you don't have a connection to your costume, you ain't gonna value and you ain't gonna appreciate your costume.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
That's
see,
why we have so many. That's why we have so many persons like we're iterating now that would come to a shack and just pick up a costume and go.
and,
When
and,
you don't have a connection, like I say, to your
yeah,
costume,
yeah.
you are not gonna value it and appreciate it.
And Ross, let me piggyback up what you're saying because see, a lot of people, a lot of guys, and like to brag about their costume, right? And they get the best costume, and they got so much yes, they can show their costume, but they showing off other people's wife because
Well,
they contracting most of their costumes that they are on here saying they face.
I mean,
Listen,
I know some individuals that I won't call any names, and it's so ironic and funny that, like I say, the mecca of Junkanoo, just like in Madison Square Gardens, the mecca of Junkanoo is George Street, and you have a lot of guys who line up their costumes on George Street, and they have not even laid a finger on their costume,
Listen,
but they argue with other guys that, hey, I kill you this morning, I got you. But I mean, you can say because I have the money, I can contract my stuff. I'm gonna get it pasted. I'm gonna get it decorated. I just want to be on the parade.
right,
But like I say, Junkanoo to me, like I said, is a passion, is a spirit, is a feeling. Until you have a connection of actually going in the shack, physically putting in the woman or the man hours, wiring that costume, getting pricked by a wire, pricked by a staple,
right.
um, getting burnt by a glue gun when you're decorating and you're putting on your stones or your mirrors, you're not gonna have an attachment to that costume. You're not gonna feel a part of that costume.
Well, one of the
well,
things I can speak to when I had interviewed Darren Bastian on Unsung Heroes, and I asked him to talk about himself, and I asked him about explaining about persons. You know, we take a costume and we bring it back a next year and put it on. And his answer was that was it. We cycle. He said every costume after you brushing it should be discarded because every costume carries a different spirit. Notice how every time you in a different costume, you have a different spirit in each costume that you put on. So you discard that particular costume and pick up a next one from a different. When Aline say, "I come to get me," so I come to get me for a different costume for a different year. That's the
well, let
feeling.
me tell you something. What I've noticed over the recent years, the whole shack experience has died.
Yeah,
It is gone. It's dead. You notice the only things that are in the shack now is the banner, two lead costumes, and the step down.
right.
Most of the off the shoulders, the backline costumes, the jumpers, etc. These individuals carry those costumes home, or the contractor take them somewhere to paste, and they return. The whole environment of the shack was for socializing,
Yeah.
fellowshipping,
Yeah.
coming together as an organization. The shack was a celebration by itself. That aspect of Junkanoo is now gone. People do not want to be in the shack. They want to be sitting up in front of their TVs, cutting their paper, etc. Or they just want to go and say, I got my contractor, he's handling my costume, etc. And that era brought a lot of disappointment as well. And that era stopped a lot of people from learning. Because nigga, the person said, look, I working, I making some money. Guy charged me $350. That's one paycheck. I contracting with my costume, and that's it.
That's true. And Gina,
Huh?
what opened up my eyes tonight, what I've never really thought about before, how Carla said that we losing a lot of the interest from Junkanoo is extending from the junior Junkanoo, because in the junior Junkanoo in those schools, the children ain't facing. They
They
have a
picking up
lot
the
of
they
outside help from major groups, like groups adopt schools and stuff. But you have to adopt the school to show them what to do, not to do for them.
I used to build for my school when I was in DW Davis, and we had a lot of school students who was interested in Junkanoo because a lot of us rushed with the Saxon. A lot of us rushed with the Saxons. So
A lot of
we
builders too.
Yeah.
we used to do our own work. And when I left, they wanted me to stay and finish up the school. But I said that era is over for me because I am now out of school. You know, I going to develop myself in senior Junkanoo. But I stayed on for a year after helping them. And then I showed the art teacher how to build costume, and he built for them for 2 years. But I've worked with schools over the years. These schools, they want to win. They have the same winning spirit. They want to win, and they would win at any cost, just like Bay Street. It's
And
not being passed on. Now I see some teachers who are involved in Junkanoo put a lot of the effort in to training some of their students. There's a lot of that going on, you know. But the thing,
it goes back to the competitive.
Unmute your mic. That's okay.
For,
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, it just unmuted.
Nobody actually has that passion and that love anymore. It's all about competition.
Then
You know,
I just want to jump in here. I've been listening. I just came back. Oh, how's everybody doing? Nice. Rasta.
Hey, good night, man.
What's happening, man?
I see you, Rasta. Ellery, what's going on?
Very
Gino,
good, man.
Papa, what's going on?
Oh, it's good.
everything good, my
Alright,
brother.
so I came in on the, well, I was listening a while, but I've been having some in-depth conversations over the past couple of weeks. But the thing about the school, the passion and all that stuff, I've been hearing on a lot of different shows, persons talking about the passion of Junkanoo is going, and ever since Carnival come, how there's a difference in the way that people react to it. Listen, let me share something with y'all, and I guess y'all could give me feedback on.
Man, can you turn up your mic a little bit?
Say again.
Turn up your mic a little bit.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly now.
All right, so basically, what I was saying was, been having some conversations about persons on, this thing about I always said that we need to get into schools from primary school and train from the younger ages and get persons in it interested in, and not like you said, you have a lot of schools that they are interested in winning. They bring in other groups, bring in persons, and they do everything. They build the costumes, they literally do all the costumes, they pace for the kids, they do everything. So the kids don't have any attachment, they don't have no sense of accomplishment. Is like, I did this, I took the time and I did this myself. the children are not learning from the whole Junkanoo experience. And in every aspect of Junkanoo right now, we looking for quick fixes. We literally looking for quick fixes. When it comes to the music, quick fixes. Literally just not, we're not taking the time to develop us. And I really feel like we need to get back to trying to train persons from young. We're talking about there being a lack of builders. There has to be a lack of builders because right now it's changing again. Persons are not taking the time to say, you know what? For me, building is art. That's you being an architect for whatever costume or whatever it is that you're doing. You know, the same thing with music. That is an art form. You gotta learn to arrange the music and try new things with the music. I'm still hearing literally right now the same things that we've been hearing from 20 years ago. Nobody is taking the time to experiment and create new things. Everybody is copying what they've heard over and over and over and over again. Like you say, someone come up with a color scheme this year. You know what? I like that. They want to try to bring that for their whole group the next year. Rather than sitting down, you're an artist. Try to learn to color. Bring some new color concepts, some new color schemes. Try to do that. If you're an artist, an architect or builder, you know what? Say, you know what? They used these rods last time and they tried this design. Let me see if I could come up with a new design and make some things happen. But you got to experiment in whatever discipline you are inside Junkanoo and teach from a younger age. So it's just like a violin. When they give kids the violin from a young age, they grow with that. And by them growing with it, there are some things that develop along with the child, along with that person. So I feel that we need to get into the primary school system and listen, let them learn from a young age, and that's the only way you could develop that passion. Otherwise, it's gonna be an entitlement thing. Yeah, we make costume, reach the shop, we make costume. Why make costume ain't ready yet? You understand? That's just a personal thing. Just talking to different persons that I feel.
You're right. You're right.
Absolutely right on that. And so, because there's nobody to pass the baton on, and nobody are willing to learn it,
Willing, right?
lose in terms of artisans. We're going to lose in terms of construction. We're going to lose if we don't start, like you say, for the curriculum from primary and kindergarten, I should say. As you see, we have preschools in Junkanoo.
Let me ask you this. One quick question. We talking about builders. We know in the last 2 years, some individuals formed a company,
right?
And they now freelance for anybody who wants to, whatever. Your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on it, because I was one of them. I'm all for that because that helps create the industry that we need, and that should encourage more professionalism. Like I say, if we want to go and make this thing, either it's just a cultural event, or it's a business adventure. You can't have both. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe we could have both. I don't know. Somebody will have to show me that.
Actually, you can have both because you can have a professional and a prosumer or a consumer.
Right. So we need to figure out which direction we want to take with this, and how serious we want to go for it. Like I'm saying, I call him for a craft market, a Junkanoo craft market, like we have our straw market. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't
want to be like our straw market though.
No, I
want to be better than that.
You understand what I mean?
I understand, you know? but we don't want to be a market where we have everything come from China.
No, but it's a staff of young Junkanoo artists to be able to make some money.
If they have a Junkanoo Expo on Bay Street before,
yeah,
and I think
we had the expo before
again, right?
Yeah,
we had the expo
in the back.
We had the
expo museum. Yeah.
Yeah, they're about to do a next one.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Yeah.
It's a difference between a museum and an expo. There's a big difference between a museum and that.
But I think all of that could be could be placed inside that one area. And see, we all have to start getting in the business of Junkanoo as well too. So I think that all that is a part of hopefully what moving forward they are going to place inside that museum or expo.
Well, we don't know as yet what the full
details.
intent of the museum.
But we
don't know
hope,
the intent.
Hopefully.
What it really, yeah, we don't know what it really says for us as yet. I've heard
start a
some,
wish list? Can we start a
Hopefully.
wish
I've heard
list and
some
just
things.
put
I've
our
heard
thoughts
some
of what we
things
think
they
the museum
intended,
should be?
I'm not sure yet. Huh?
I would hope that they consider taking the advice and ideas from some builders and some artists moving forward.
Well, I think they're trying to go across the spectrum. So, I don't know. We'll see what they come up with. But we need a whole lot of different things to make an industry work, and the museum is one of those. So, we need dance school. We need a whole
Need
cadre
the
of stuff.
ecosystem.
Yeah, we need a whole cadre of stuff to make it click. You know what I mean? To make the engine click and work. So definitely, number one should be on our agenda, and the museum is one thing. That school is that's the most important to us.
So,
Education.
Gino,
If we could do that separate and apart from the schools, and we could have our, that's like how Success Training College or BBC or whatever, we have our own institution, and we could make that work. That's why we need different things to make that work. We can't just send somebody that learn that, and that person can't make no money.
So you're saying to have an institution or organization that trains in the different disciplines of Junkanoo?
Right. But then you need like the craft market for the person to have somewhere to go.
But having an outlet after you've already accomplished whateve you've learned.
You got to be able to display other than the parade. You know what I mean? So you need a whole heap of things to make it work. We need plays. I dreaming to see a Junkanoo play where we build and construct a whole play.
Or you be happy.
How about this? How about we implement it? How about we implement Junkanoo in the school curriculum?
Take an act of parliament for that.
Y'all get me excited over here, because
it's an act of parliament to get that done.
Go ahead, man.
But all right. One of the things that I've been asking the question to is, hey, okay, so we're saying we need to get an act of parliament. Why can't we just come together, put together what it is that we want? Because they're not gonna put it together. We still have to put it together.
That's why I'm saying we could do our own institute, and we could partner with the Ministry of Education in our own training facility, rather than trying to get involved in the school system. You understand what I'm saying? We will have our separate institute, like a college or whatever, our separate Junkanoo institution, partner with the Ministry of Education, but it's a separate institution run by Junkanoos.
But would it be your entry? Would it be your entry age, or the age of entry?
We could go different age. We could choose those age. Once we could get our institute up and running, you could do pre, junior, senior, or whichever one we choose. But more than likely, that kind of institution is more for a college level person. You see what I'm saying? Because they coming in to learn.
But I still think you need to start at an early age and get persons.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I'm saying that is
it's up to us to design that institute for what we want it to be. We have to do that. We can't ask nobody else to do that for us. These people don't know Junkanoo.
Let me throw something.
We going to them asking them to put Junkanoo in school, something that they don't even know.
And let me ask
I,
the panel something.
I just quite honestly, these are Bahamian people who don't know Junkanoo. They don't. So when
Who's
you come to
stopping us
them
from starting
talking,
it?
Us.
us,
I mean, for years we keep talking. For instance, I kid you not. For years I've been hearing persons talking about the Junkanoo Museum, and they're waiting for the government to do it. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of, I mean, very beautiful, intricate costumes, literally thrown on the side of the road because if the groups don't take them, then store them away. Persons after they leave the parade, gone in the garbage. Why is it we waiting on the government to do that?
well, it's being done now by a foreign company that the government brought here and partnership with the government. The NASA crews,
Sure.
government company, they have, that's a foreign company that the government brought in to develop that whole area. So, and they have our museum as a part of their whole thing.
Yeah.
So now, so who is creating the value for that? Who is to say when you build a costume or when Dennis builds a costume and Papa takes a photo and Ellery designs a costume? Who is to say now what is the value for that?
Some of our people are there who was consultants. I don't want to get into it. That's
You make a valid point. Because I mean, me personally, I look at it from this perspective. As a designer, builder, and an artist, your work is priceless. You can't put a price on my work.
Maybe they will ask Junkanoos what they charge. Maybe they'll ask you what you charge for your piece. Like how Angelique does at the festival. You price your own.
We can do that, but see, this is where again transparency will come in, because for instance, let's just say I build a costume and I value it at roughly, let's just say $250. A person who acts as a mediator or the in between or a manager,
I can price a costume it is.
But may go and say, well, hey, I want Dennis is asking $1,000 for the costume, when I in actuality only asked $250.
Well, I can't. But as far as price, that's how you price it. That's how you price a costume.
Right. I saw an
construction material
festival, right? They had a Junkanoo there who had his costume price at $2,500 and $1,000 and $1,500, and I was looking like garbage. Really? Trying to figure out how you get the. I had to call him. I say, hey, stop. I pull him on the side. I say, listen, tell me how you
can't be serious.
Tell me how you get these prices on this costume.
See, because they allow persons to get in their head and give them false hope. It comes back, like I say again.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that, Dennis.
What is that?
Just people don't know how to price a costume. This is the way you price a costume.
This is the point that I'm getting at. You need to come up. You need to come up.
Labor, right?
Materials.
I didn't say that. Material costs and labor. Basically, that's all you price a costume. How much you paid for your feathers? How much you paid for the construction of that costume? And if you want to
end up with these little jumper costume and things for $1,500.
No.
Okay.
I can tell you, I build jumper costumes. I build starting price if you add more detail, like carving, etc. But it's all cardboard. A jumper costume for me. Some people tell me I am crazy, but I can't. The market controls the price. You cannot price yourself out of the market. If you price yourself out of the market, nobody will hire you. Nobody will hire you. So you can't say I want $3,000 or I want $500 to build a jumper. They can't afford it.
But
You know
that's
what I
why
mean?
the person gone home with all their costumes.
Huh?
Well, that's why the person gone home with all their costumes.
Now, when you start talking with detail, a very detailed costume,
Right.
You
when you
laughing it.
start getting into details,
See,
then your price start to increase.
exactly. Like Gino is saying now, especially like, okay, with me moving away somewhat from just cardboard and now getting into actually styrofoam and carving. If I give you a price for a jumper,
Engineering and
off the shoulder, a
construction,
dancer,
different engineering
it,
like that.
yeah, I basically give you a price depending on, like he says, the detail of the costume. So if it requires carving, I give you a specific price because I tell you, hey, I'm billing the costume and I'm doing the carvings. If you're gonna find somebody else to do the carving, it's gonna cost more. So it's either you're gonna go with the price that I give you, or like I say, I can just build the cardboard aspect, set up the rods, the framework, and then you can cover. You know, then you have some persons who may want you to just deal with the entire costume as to here and again. It comes to the point where some persons don't want to come in the shop, so they want you to wire, construct, paint, draw the lines, get somebody to paste the costume, get somebody to decorate the costume, get somebody to feather the costume.
That is the new era today. That's the future.
And see, that's where all the tribalism comes in because
But Charles, not necessarily. You know, that's just an industry. That's a job for somebody. You're talking about
Yeah.
jobs and this ain't happened just overnight.
Right.
You know, when
And
I first
I
started
going to bring
Junkanoo,
it up, Papa.
when I
I
first
going to
started
bring it up.
Junkanoo, there was Sunboy. Sunboy used to live somewhere off East Street,
Stand by
and he never used to partially. He's put everybody costume on one line, so everybody costume from every group. You could drive past and see everybody like
But
costume.
we
The
were
Valley Boys
building
hold brass.
smaller costume and less detailed line costumes back then. The costumes now, what people are asking for is very detailed
More
because they
detailed
want
and
to
more
win.
intricate.
So
They want
gents,
to win.
so let me ask a question, right? So if, like Papa say, all right, so persons are now looking for a completed costume, right? Here's how you create the value. If Dennis built the costume from start to finish, right? Gino do design the costume from start to finish, right? Ellery come and he color the costume from inception, right? He look at the drawing, he say, okay, this is the colors, boom, costume is colored, it's built, it's designed, all the stuff is done, right? Now you have a person, you have the finishers, you got the persons who could paste the costume, decorate it and all that stuff, and you say to these persons, okay, each step has a value, and if we're gonna complete this
That's
costume,
exactly what's happening.
that's the value of the costume. But here's the
That's
thing
exactly
though.
what's happening.
But here's the thing though. If you have a person that says, okay, this is the quality of the costumes that we pushing out, this is the price, that money need to be paid up front. If you want a full costume, the costume is $2,000. You got to pay this money up front. If you don't pay this money up front, that costume will continue to
No, it don't work
exist
like
on
that.
that piece of
You get
paper.
you get half. You get
No
half
half.
down.
You got to pay that up in full.
No, ain't nobody's gonna do that.
No, you
No,
don't want to do that.
You can't say that.
I've never seen nobody come like that.
You have to understand, when you're creating a culture, and it starts with you and what you're gonna do. What some of the vendors I've dealt with, like some of my suppliers, some of them would say to you, okay, you can put down half, but some of them say to you, you got to pay me this in full before I even get it from my supplier.
I understand what you're
You
saying.
see that's part of our problem. We deal with some cultures inside this jungle thing, with some mediocrity, some foolishness that we deal with, and then we complain when we say, okay, things ain't going the way you get. You could imagine now, you go through all this, the fella, let's just say someone pay you half. You go and y'all complete the costume, and then they turn around and say they want to do the costume anymore. They don't want to pay you the balance of the half. You keep the half.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Legal documents. Legal.
We don't
have
respect
to-
legal documents in the Bahamas,
Yeah,
buddy. You could
Oh,
take
yeah.
people to court. You could take people to court all you want. Tell me I lie.
No, you ain't lying.
You ain't lying.
You could take people to court all you want. They'll serve you summons after summons, and they'll call their friend, and they call this person, and they'll get that summons
You
removed.
wake up who you know, man. You wake up who you know and how well you know that person.
All I'm saying is, if you want, and guess what? Let me show you another perspective, right? Y'all put the costume on paper. You put it online. Someone go and they select. Let's say Papa go online. He go to your site. He select the costume. Boom. The costume is $2,000. Now you say, okay, you want this costume? Pay that in full. Okay. Now you have 5 persons on this board to go do this costume, right? Then let's put in this hard work to go build this costume. Ellery take this time to sit down, the color, because he got to get in the mood. You got to get this inspiration. That's the time, right? So now you get someone from Australia say, boy, I see that costume. I know y'all say it for $2,000, but I want to give you all $3,000 because I'll make sure I get that costume 2 weeks earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watch how the persons will change their mindset if they know that persons are buying these costumes. Completely done.
I've seen that at the festival. I've seen
So
once people
don't make excuses.
when people heard that certain costumes were going for X quantity, things changed. You know what I mean? But that's the way that's not just Junkanoo. That's the Bahamas at all. If I do a 99-cent breakfast and I see everybody selling, everybody buying my 99-cent breakfast, by the end of the month, you will have but 5 99-cent breakfasts.
That's fine. But the difference is always being the quality in your work,
That's
the
the way
quality in your product.
Quality of the product.
But that's the way we are.
We have how many chicken shacks around here? Bamboo Shack still is king. Bamboo Shack making billions. How many chicken companies then gone under?
I use fish fry as an example to one of my friends. I say, if you notice by fish fry, everybody is selling conch salad every store. You just go to your favorite stall and get your conch salad. These two business people, they selling basically the same thing. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't have a problem. You understand? They don't have a problem. Everybody have their customer, or their favorites. So, I might like to go to.
Everybody have their preference.
So just do your work and do your work to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
You can get.
I agree. But all I'm saying is the different models of we complain about why Junkanoo is ain't making money, why things this way, why things that way. We just need to stop talking. Sit down with persons who want to progress and move forward.
I'm going to tell you why Junkanoo is not making money. Junkanoo is not making money because we're trying to make money off them parades. The money for Junkanooers is not on Bay Street. It's not there.
Where is it?
It's in those same things that I told you about. That museum.
Expo.
The craft shops. The
more
school
festivals, more festivals,
training,
more festivals,
offshore, exposing Junkanoo, manufacturing.
Money is in the export of Junkanoo, whether it's local or international.
This is where we have to start to look at. That's where our money is. We ain't gonna find our money on Bay Street. Is only one aspect of the entire production of Junkanoo.
Yeah, all you talk about is basically the export of Junkanoo from start to finish.
No, that ain't what I say. I talk about manufacturing. I talk about manufacturing on a level like toys.
I want you to understand what I'm saying. When I say the export of Junkanoo, I want you to understand totally what I'm saying. The export of Junkanoo is taking all of the elements of Junkanoo, whether it be the visual, that's the costumes on themselves, whether it be the music, whether it be the education on how to do it. When I say the export is taking all of the elements of it and being able to create tangible. You could send it to anywhere in the world.
Break each one down. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Break each one of them down and develop them.
Yeah, because you might have a fortune, you might have a big multimillionaire say, you know what, he wants a life-size figure of him or statue of him in his house in a Junkanoo costume. You might say, you know what, I need 10 persons to go work with me to do it. Say, okay, budget is no issue.
Man, look at Disney, man. Disney took the cartoons and look what they created out of their cartoons and their stories. that's where your money is. Plain and simple. I can't say it no better than that. You know, you have to develop your money making schemes and make that happen. The cultural village for me is the key. I see that as Disney of
Well,
Junkanoo.
gentlemen, this has been a very interesting evening. We have been talking now approximately for 2 hours. I feel like we've just started. Is there any closing remarks before we close for the night?
Well, me personally, I would love to see Junkanoo um evolve into something better and greater than it is now. We have a lot of young, fledgling, up and coming artisans in a lot of these organizations um, that we need to take under our wings. Um, we have a lot of persons that have a lot of knowledge, past, present, and future. Um, I'm at a point where I'm still progressing. I'm still learning, and I'm not afraid to ask questions to find out information and gather information, because I think that's one of our detriments as humans and as individuals. We tend to be naive to the point that, or arrogant, that we feel that we know it all. And like I always tell persons, as a builder, I'm learning things every day. You know, what I may see, somebody else may see a different aspect, or can inform me or give me some more information to better my craft. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have been around the likes of Mr. Winston Augustus Gus Cooper, God rest his soul, um, Marco Mullins, Jason Batsminis, Peter Gold Turnquest. I've been around Gino, Carlos Bain, uh, the likes of Bain Boy, um, Eggy Bum, Bain. I've also spent some time with Anton Tornstein, and I've actually admired as well as looked at these guys as mentors, and I've taken bits and pieces from them, and I've actually honed those into my own craft. And like I said, I'm growing. I'm still growing, and building my reputation and my repertoire in this arena, this cultural arena that we call Junkanoo. Um,
Ellery?
but like I said, I would like to see it progress, and I would like to see it grow, and I don't want the culture to die, because we have some persons that feel that Junkanoo is dying.
Go ahead, Ellery.
Well, for me, it's basically I like to see new things. I like to see Junkanoo progress. I like to see people coming out of the box with new costumes, and that's the excitement about Junkanoo for me. Every year, you see one or two or a whole lot of persons with new ideas, even down to feathering. You see persons feather different. It's like that's what I like to see. Once Junkanoo is evolving and persons are started, so every year they think out the box. That's a plus for me. So at least we know persons are continuously thinking, even though it's sometimes repetitive, but people are still coming out of the box. So that's the aspect and perspective I'm coming from with Junkanoo.
Any last words, Jay?
Well, I want us to stay on a steady, progressive um, trend, but keeping keeping the tradition as well. Um, I don't want to see gray paper die. I don't want to see cardboard die. I don't want to see certain elements die, because I feel like we could add our engineering and our pasting with all the new construction styles. You know, I could see a pasted robot that could move like a robot, or or the engineering is one aspect, and that will change. You know what I mean? But if we could still keep our cardboard, gray paper, and certain aspects of Junkanoo, I think we will create something more amazing than probably what we're looking at now. You know? So for me, the institution, the manufacturing, the teaching, I think um, the service of the parade, I think we need to start to move into those areas. We need to start moving to those areas to help sustain Junkanoo financially. We have to come up with ways to sustain Junkanoo. We cannot beg forever. We cannot beg forever. We need to be able to make sufficient monies for ourselves to be able to sustain Junkanoo for the next 20 to 30 years.
Anything, Papa?
I saw an interesting post on Facebook today. It was a non-Junkanoo, and the discussion was basically about the economics of Junkanoo and how we can make it more profitable. There were a lot of great comments, and there are a lot of comments from non-Junkanoos. So I guess us Junkanoos would say we
Did you see that question today? You saw that question of the day? So what the question of the day is.
I think I did, yeah. So they were talking about the pay-per-view for Junkanoo, or not making Junkanoo free for a lot of things. Junkanoo is so spiritual that I was of the view that it was, you know, we could have an economic total 360, but from talking to a lot of people, that's not going to happen in the next probably 20, 30, maybe 40 years down the road, where we could actually make a living. These guys are actually making a living off Junkanoo to a certain extent. I'm talking about everybody who wants to participate or is participating in Junkanoo, receiving a check as opposed to spending money in Junkanoo. That's what I was thinking when I was saying the economics of Junkanoo changing. I just don't see it happening no time soon. We get so entrenched in Junkanoo on Bay Street the way it is. It's spiritual. It's spiritual. It's going to take I hate to say it, it's going to take probably a foreign entity like the cruise port to come in and donny up a bunch of money and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build a Junkanoo village for that to actually happen. You know, otherwise, I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime.
Okay, Ming? Okay, I guess Ming moved. Folks, so I just like to thank all of the gentlemen and all of our guests tonight, especially these artisans, Ellery, Delaveau. Devo, sorry, I'm thinking about Miss Delaveau calling my name now. And Rasta, Dennis Rasta Sanders, my brother. Gino,
Yes, my sister.
Gino Ron, my Texas brother. And, you know, I just like to thank all the persons that were sponsoring us this week, you know, to try to keep the pages alive. Our main focus is to keep Junkanooers and entrepreneurs to make some revenue. Like we keep talking about making money to ourselves. They put it out there. They help Junkanooers to make revenue for themselves if they have small businesses, to promote them, to make sure that they have an income coming in. Not to say that it's a slow time now. It is the slow time when you need to advertise for yourself, so people will be seeing your advertisements. Not only just 50 advertisements, but up to 300 advertisements in the space of 3 days. Isn't that a lot of advertisements?
Yeah.
So, and I'd like to say a special thank you to Junkanoo Express. You see, this is one of the giveaways we had this week. This is actually a coin keeper. This came from Junkanoo Express. This is Mr. Lamont Bastian and Mr. Timothy Camp. All the way in nice. Timmy won this yesterday. And if Timmy don't tell me how to get this on the boat, then I can start putting my change in it.
Well, you said that too.
Yeah, that is nice. Isn't it nice?
Yeah, that's nice.
It's very nice. And so, you know, Lamont said he do all the paper. His wife designed it. And he do all the pasting in the paper. I see it's a coin.
Now you see what I'm talking about the manufacturer?
Hey, see here, there's a coin where you drop your coins in there. Drop your coins.
The only thing you got to do is preserve, find a way to preserve the paper.
The color.
See, that's
color from fading.
right. So again, folks, it's been a good night, and we'd like to thank all of you, the gentlemen, for taking time of your busy schedule to make a difference in Junkanoo, to move this forward and to keep it alive. So to everyone, we say
Pleasure's all ours.
a good night, and we say at FIE, feel it.
Feel it in your belly.
Good night, all, and
All right.
be safe, everybody.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.
All right.